Here's 5 things you might be doing wrong with your signal chain. Number 5, the order itself of the signal chain. So when you have a live spoken word, or just doing what I'm doing now, where I just have this set up and I record into it and I don't have to edit it afterwards, you want a high pass filter at the very beginning. The reason for that is, in my case, how it affects the expander that I use. And I want to show you an example here. Check this out. This is the order at which my stuff goes in channel strip 2. My channel strip 2 is my high pass filter, tiny bit of EQ, as well as my expander. So I want you to take note of these green dots here. If I have the expander after the high pass filter, you can notice if I tap my desk or something, it doesn't really waver much. It does a good job at cutting out noise. But if I put the high pass filter after the expander, you can see it very much so does not work nearly as well. It gets directly affected by the bass that you don't really hear in your voice, but you hear it, well, you know, from an air conditioner, from a car going by. So that's definitely number 1. After that, the user expander, and then I would probably put my EQ after the expander. It can go before as well, right? Not a huge deal. You really just want to prioritize the high pass filter at the beginning, and a compressor can go at the very beginning or at the very end or whatever. Compressors, you know, generally are used for cutting down loud noises and slightly raising quiet noises. So that's the order right there. Number 4, the actual quality of the audio, for example, right? Which would be the buffer size or the sample rate, right? So specifically with kind of shitty computers like mine, I have a i7-8700, which it's been a long time since that's been put in this computer. It's very old. It's been used heavily. I don't know if that affects how it performs, but it certainly seems to. When I'm playing a game or something, or doing something that's, you know, CPU intensive, whenever I record audio, I would notice it would crackle if I had a really low buffer size. For example, if I went and set it to like 16 or 32 samples, even 128, when I recorded, like the lower the buffer size you have, the lower latency you get. And the higher sample rate you have, the lower latency you get. But it also really cranks your CPU. So I would notice that if I had anything lower than 256, it would crackle in my recordings. And next to that, if I had a really high sample rate, it would do the same thing. Not as bad, but it would still do it. On top of that, for Discord specifically, right, if you do Discord stuff, Discord doesn't accept a sample rate of anything other than 48 kilohertz, which means if you're talking on Discord and you have, say, 192 or something, right, something super overkill, you're going to crackle. So that's something else to keep in mind. Number 3, too much or too little gate. So the purpose of a gate or an expander, in this you know, example, we're using a gate because a lot of people use a gate. You pretty much want to get rid of background noise, but you want to keep, you know, your voice. So I turned off my expander. You can hear my room. And now I've turned the gate up until just after my threshold. If you look at this graph right here, that darker gray one is my room noise. So now I don't have room noise, but I try to whisper. I can't whisper. Now that's just at the edge of the gate, right? Kind of where it should be. Now sometimes you'll see people do like where they really crank it. And now, as you can hear, I have way too much gate. And next to that, you have too little gate. You can still hear my room. So that's one thing you want to look out for. I recommend using an expander instead of a gate, because a gate tries to turn off all of the sound that's below a certain threshold. An expander just turns it down. So keep that in mind. Number 2, you might have too much compression. If we get a compressor and we put it, say, right here, right? Well, if I crank the ratio and I turn down the attack all the way and I turn the release all the way and then I crank the threshold, this sounds like absolute dog shit, correct? I mean, I certainly think it sounds terrible. Like, oh, yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, a retard. Like, this is too much, you know? And you'll see people every now and then, specifically on Discord, sure, right? That's kind of an isolated case, but you'll see that in live aspect. You know, go look at a video game, right? You'll see people who have like a Blue Yeti and they are insanely overcompressed, and it's just not good. When you record audio, you want it to be as dry as possible, which means you don't do as much processing to it. Finally, number 1, you might over EQ stuff. What that means is very simple. You take an EQ, and this one I have pretty specifically set up. I have a de-esser here, so like the sibilant sounds are dynamically reduced whenever those come in. A tiny bit of a mid cut here, like no more than like 2 decibels. Tiny bit of a bass cut, and the proximity effect adjuster, sort of. So if I get real close to the microphone, then it'll, you know, bring the bass down. So that way the proximity effect isn't as strong. However, a lot of times if you're on Discord or something, or in a game or whatever, you'll hear somebody who takes all of the mid frequencies, right? All of these frequencies that are important in a voice, and they just get rid of them. And then now, oh, I sound like a radio show or whatever. But the issue with that, everything you hear is pretty much made up of mid frequencies, right? So if you're in a, say, for example, a Discord call, and you have a bunch of random people in there that just have phone microphones or, you know, whatever, they don't process their stuff, they're made up of all those frequencies that you just deleted. So now you're going to become background noise. You're not going to get heard because all of the, you know, important clarity that makes up every voice is gone. And yeah, you don't want that. Same goes for music. You know, if you're mixing and mastering guitar or piano or whatever, you want everything to sit in its own space, sure, but you also don't want to delete it. And that's how you delete stuff. You EQ the fuck out of it, and then all the frequencies that need to be in that instrument are now gone. You see it with vocals all the time too. I've been worked with a lot of, for some reason, specifically Russian artists. I don't know what it is with Russia, but they hate mids. Like, they just cut out all that shit, and then it's just nothing but bass and treble, and it's the most, I guess it's made for clubs, but it's just terrible. So yeah, don't do that. I hope this video was helpful to you. Go ahead and join my Discord in the description, and comment down any questions you might have or videos you want to make. Thanks for watching.